everybody, Jae Burnham here with the Six Figure Moving Academy, and today I've got another exciting video for you. This comes from a question on my closed private Facebook group called Moving Companies Insiders, and this was a question, and there were some awesome answers to it. And the question was, Larry asks, what can I do differently? I keep sending my guys out to confirmed jobs, and the customer either isn't ready or hasn't booked or has booked another moving company. Great question, Lawrence. And unfortunately, this does happen, right? This does occur. The biggest solution to it, and I made a video about this, about rescheduling fees and cancellations. We went over it. If you have a signed document giving them giving you their credit card number with their address, with it signed saying that they authorize you to use it based on your cancellation and rescheduling charges, then you're safe. You don't necessarily have to take a deposit, although taking a deposit maybe of 10% if it's a local move, 25% if it's an interstate, or maybe even a little bit more if it's intrastate. But you don't have to take a deposit. All you need to do is make sure when it's in their contract and they sign the contract for your services, and you should be getting a signed contract. So you should be able to have it, send it out via email. And if you do it right, you can do it through Adobe Acrobat. They can even electronically sign it and email it back to you. So they don't have to print it out, rescan it, and send it out or mail it or whatever. They can literally just sign it right there, right then. It's a real simple thing. There's a lot of YouTube videos about how to do this. It's a very simple, and if you have a Adobe Acrobat, you can get a PDF made up for that, and you just send them your contract, and it has all your terms and conditions, what you expect out of your customer, and so on and so forth. But one of the key components of that is a part, either a section in your contract or another piece of paper saying, okay, here's my credit card number, and if you're not going to charge them a deposit, let them know, hey, here's the cancellation rescheduling, but you should definitely get somebody's credit card number, right? So if you do show up on the day of the move and they have hired another moving company, fair enough. You just zap you just charge their credit card for the agreed amount, whether it's a $250 charge, or if you do the full estimated charge, whatever it is, you can just say fine and move along and charge the credit card, whatever it is that you've agreed to that's in your contract. All right. If you don't have a contract, you should make sure you send them the contract via email. Minimally, if you could give the contract to them when you're doing an in-home inspection, even better. But definitely send them with your terms and conditions on it. But there was a lot of good advice, and I want to just go over one person's advice, Natasha, on the board. Actually, this is how she responded. Sorry, she goes, I wouldn't do deposits. I kind of disagree, but you don't have to either. If you're not going to do a deposit, definitely still get their credit card number. I wouldn't do deposits, she says, personally, not for a local move. I used to have the same problems you do. The main reason I discovered was that after I booked them, I wouldn't contact them until it was time to confirm the move 2 days prior. They would think we forgot about them or wouldn't show, so they'd call somebody else. Instead, after booking, I send a confirmation email right away, that's absolutely, send a confirmation email. That should also be your contract as well. I drafted weekly emails about packing, staying organized, donation places, random stuff, and I sent out once a week, right? On Fridays. She sends them out once a week on Fridays up until the week of their move, right? I also call every 2 weeks if they booked well in advance. I just check in, ask how the packing is going, if they have any questions, or if anything has changed, etc. Less than 5-minute phone conversation. We have not had one person hire somebody else, not be ready, not be present, or anything like that. I think the reassurance is what they needed and what made the difference for us. I know every location is different, but here in New Jersey, It's normal to take a small deposit in the summer months when scheduling is crazy and everyone is competing for the same dates and times. It's practically taboo to do it any other time, and it can really turn customers off. At least it does here. So there's a lot of great advice. Here's what Natasha does. She basically diagnosed what the situation, why people weren't ready, and why they were calling other movie companies. And it came right down to moving is very stressful for people. So when you book the move, you send them the contract, they send it back, you don't talk to them ever again, basically until, hey, we're here. They get nervous. They get a little sporadic because, are these guys going to show up? Maybe they've heard some horror stories or et cetera, et cetera. So what she's done is she sends out a scheduled emails once a week on a Friday. Now, I don't know if once a week is too much or not enough. But I don't know about you. Most movers, unfortunately, and I think everybody will agree, you don't really, 30 days out is when you usually book moves. I mean, rarely do you get more than 30-day notice about somebody who wants to move, but it's usually about 30 days or less. Sometimes, you book a move and you've only got a couple weeks. So sending them only once a week might be problematic. So maybe every 4-5 days, you might want to send an email. You don't want to send one every other day or every third day. Yeah, I would probably say 4 or 5 days. Every 4 or 5 days, you send them an email that says, hey, how's the packing? You give them some good advice. You're just giving them value. You're not trying to sell. You're not trying to upsell. You're just trying to give them help. Checklists, how-tos, whatever it is, just so that you're staying in communication. This was a very important thing. This from Natasha, she found that this made the people feel comfortable with her moving company, so they didn't go to another moving company. They didn't look for another company. Also, if they booked out things, she made sure she'd call them up. Now that's, every 2 weeks she would give them a call. I think once a week is a call is valid. Just say, hi, I'm Jay, just wanted to make sure, just check up on you, see if you guys are ready. How is the packing going? Do you need any questions answered? So on and so forth. Like she says, it's a 5-minute conversation. Some great advice there on how to handle this situation, right? Good. And then another person, Christopher, has a real good some great advice. He says, are you calling the day before with the start of time? If you're not, you should be calling them the day before or a couple days ahead, minimally. If you're not sending out the emails, you should give them a call a couple days just to make sure, confirm the time, confirm the date, confirm if there's anything, see if they're ready, see if everything's packed up, right? That is very important, okay? Also suggest, Christopher goes on and says, I also suggest taking a $100 date hold deposit at time of booking. Basically, Christopher's saying, hey, take a deposit, take $100. That way, it could be $250 or whatever. I would say keep it small, but make it big enough where if they cancel or they don't get a hold of you, it's going to hurt, but not so much where they'll get turned off and actually go to some other moving company. I think $100 is typically right around that range where it's, hey, if they charge me the $100, that's going to hurt, so I better make sure I call them up, right? Less than that, they might just say, I don't care, and just move on. So I think that $100 is a good medium for it. And that's why I wanted to bring this up on Chris's advice. So you don't have to take a deposit, but you do need, at the very least, to get their credit card number. If they do decide to hire another moving company, and you get there and they find, that's fine. Now you just zap their credit card for $100 or whatever your terms and conditions is per your contract. Now finally, Chris gives some great advice as well, and I'm going to go over Chris's advice to this question. Chris says, the email responders above, talking about Natasha, is great if you have a system. This is true. If you have a system that can send out the emails, great. But if it's just you and you've got to do all the emails manually, that takes some work. But if you got the system, definitely use it. I have a process that is they sign the contract, then they get an understanding of agreement, understanding of agreement, which is something else for them to sign in. Then I request a 10% minimum deposit. Okay, so basically what Chris is saying is this, all right, I have them sign the contract, then I send them another piece of paper saying that they understood the terms and conditions. They have read, understood, and follow the terms of conditions. So part of his contract, he sends out the terms and conditions as part of his contract. They then, once they sign the contract, great. Now it has them sign, hey, I attest that I have read the terms and conditions. I understand it and will apply it, basically, is what he's doing. And then he gets a 10% commission. So basically, he's getting the credit card for 10%. So if it's a move, a local move, and it's going to be about $600, he gets $60 as his deposit, which I think is pretty fair. Either get a lump sum like $100 or get 10%, right? Chris continues on. He goes, I do my best to call a few days out just to check in to make sure that they're packing okay, etc., etc. Now get this. He calls out a few days before. He doesn't call like the day before or a couple days or 2 days before. He calls out like probably 3 or 4 days, 5 days before, and just hey, follow up with you. Are you getting the packing done? Do you need any help? Do you need boxes? What is it that you need from me to help you get this done? Are you on target? Are you on schedule? Good. How do I help you get on schedule if they're not on schedule? So on and so forth. See, that's key. It's about communication. Communication is the universal solvent, and that's what's actually going to help you. Chris continues on. He says, my initial email, my contract, and my understanding and agreement all describe how to be ready, what my expectation of ready is, and if they're not ready, what the additional costs or consequences may happen on the day of the move. So get this. He says his agreement he has them sign. He tells them actually in the terms and conditions exactly how to be ready. What do they need to be ready? If they're going to do the packing, how does the boxes need to be? What his expectation of ready is. So when he gets there, what his actual expectation, because his expectation of you ready and you being ready might be two different things. So he lays it out in writing in his terms and conditions in his contract what his expectation of ready is. For instance, just because stuff is in a box doesn't mean anything, because that box might be opened, it might not be sealed shut. Maybe it's just folded. Chris's expectation may say, no, everything has to be packed in the box. Nothing can be rattling around. It needs to be taped shut. Do you see the difference? So there could be a completely different expectation, and Chris lays out his expectation in writing. And if they're not ready, what the additional costs or consequences may happen on the day of the move. So basically, he gives them a price, he gives them an estimate, tells them what it's going to. If they don't live up to that agreement and what his expectations, there can be additional costs or even consequences. Or maybe he might just cancel the contract and not do the move and charge you a rescheduling fee or whatever. I don't know that he goes to that extreme, but I'm just pointing out that might be part of the consequences. But I guarantee you, if they're not ready based on what he told them how to be ready, he is going to probably charge them for packing and extra labor costs and stuff like that. Okay? So he says, okay, good. This is how to be ready. This is what I expect. If you don't do it, then I'm probably going to charge you more. Right? The simple answer to the question above, it's in the process. Exactly the key component here of Chris's advice. It's in the systems, it's in the processes that you have to put in place, right? If you're just willy-nilly winging it, you're not telling the customers, you're not in communication with the customers, then things can happen like what's happening for Lawrence up above. So you've got to put in those systems, you've got to put in place those systems and processes which are going to prevent that from happening. I think you should take Natasha's, Chris's, and Christopher's advice and mold them up into one thing. So here's what I would do. One, I would send them my contract with terms and conditions, as well as an agreement saying that they know, they read it, and they understand it will apply. While that's going on, I'm also now implementing my system of sending them emails and phone calls throughout the time that before they arrive for their move. So they're getting good advice. They're getting responsibilities booklet if that's applicable. They're getting other great advice of how to pack, how to make a checklist to pack up, where to put the stuff in the rooms, so on and so forth, so that everything is ready. So when the movers get there, it's just it's lickety split, boom, done. All right. So that's the thing. So you take Chris's thing, you get them to sign the contract, you get them to sign the agreement so they understand. Then you apply to Tasha's thing, and you start sending out the emails. You give them phone calls. You start putting in that process. And then you finally, you take Chris's and Christopher's advice, and you get a small deposit, whether that's a flat deposit of like $100 or a percentage like 10% like Chris does. And if you apply all of these little things into one, you shouldn't have any more problems with your customers not being ready when it comes to move time, or calling up other movers when they've already booked you. Okay, guys? Hopefully that was helpful advice. Hopefully you understood where I'm going. If you liked the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Share this with all your family and friends. And people, please, don't forget, subscribe to the channel. It's right down there. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so every time I do a video, you'll be notified when I have a new video out. Okay, guys? Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.